Of course, the introduction of new tariffs is a negative development for trade. It's important to try to keep it in perspective. I think in terms of doing so, we should start off from recognizing that we go into this episode with actually a pretty strong pattern of trade growth. So before this escalation of tariffs, we were actually expecting trade to be growing over the next 5 years a little bit faster than GDP. If these tariffs stay in place and all of the retaliation that we're just starting to see, and if that continues, that would substantially slow trade growth. I still am optimistic that we'll see some trade growth over the next 5 years, but we have high degree of uncertainty here. But most likely this is going to substantially slow, but hopefully not reverse the growth of global trade. It also will create quite a lot of shifts in terms of trade patterns, particularly with respect to the US. We'll probably want to come back to that, but maybe just on the overall picture, one thing that I think is really important to emphasize before going further into it is that the US represents only 13% of imports currently, 9% of exports. So the US is an important player in world trade, but it's far from large enough to be able to unilaterally determine the future of trade. And I'm quite optimistic that other countries are not going to follow the US down this path of raising tariffs across a large number of trade partners. We'll see retaliation against the US, but I don't see many other pairs of countries going down that path, because while this will be costly for the United States, the US is actually one of the countries that relies the least on imports relative to the size of its economy. For smaller countries in particular, the costs of escalating tariffs would be much greater.